Hello, my name is Andy, and I became a millionaire in my 30s. And now, a little bit later in my 30s, just one of my portfolios, my crypto portfolio, is actually over $1 million in value by itself. But when I started on my financial journey, I was $86,000 in debt. I was living paycheck to paycheck, and I had basically zero investments to my name. And no, I also did not receive an inheritance. And if I had to do it all over again, this is what I would do. Number one, you have to track and budget your money. Now, please don't click away because I know it's so stupidly boring to say that, but if you have no idea where your money is going and what it is doing, you cannot take control of it. For my weekly budgeting or my monthly budgeting, I use YNAB, or You Need a Budget, great name. And I think it's an amazing tool. It's really helped me. It's a very different way of thinking about how you budget and use your money, but use whatever you think is best, as long as you start doing it. Because I promise you, if you haven't already started tracking your money, you haven't started doing a budget, the moment you do start tracking it all, you will realize you're probably spending some money on some dumb stuff. I mean, after all, do you need to spend $25 on DoorDash to bring a iced latte to your front door? Or maybe you just didn't realize that last month you racked up $500 in loot box unlocks in your favorite game. Whoops. So in this scenario where I'm starting from scratch again, after I am tracking my money and budgeting my money, I would move on to step two, which is I would reduce my expenses to an absolute minimum so I have money left over each month. One of my biggest problems when I was on the other side of my finances, the bad side of my finances, I was spending every dollar I made, and sometimes even more dollars than I made. And that's where the $86,000 of credit card debt came in. I started living well past my means. But if you're spending every dollar that you make from your job or whatever on stuff that doesn't actually bring you time or more investments or more wealth in the future, well, then I think you're making a grave mistake. So you have to stop spending as much as you make if you want to succeed. And you can do that by budgeting and tracking your money. The next thing I would do is I would look at what debts I have, and then I would start attacking the highest interest debts first. And usually that's credit card debt, which again, for me, was my big mistake in my financial life. And the one thing I needed to attack ASAP once I started getting on the right track financially. And if you don't understand why this is such a big deal, go to a credit card payoff calculator, type in your card's current balance, type in your card's minimum payment, and then put in the interest rate on it. And then you will very quickly see, one, how incredibly long it will take you to actually pay it off if you pay only the minimums, but two, the insane amounts of interest you will pay that doesn't actually pay for the thing you bought originally that you just had to have in that moment, but just pays money to the credit card company. You will pay 2x, 3x the cost of whatever that thing was just in interest. When you're paying the minimum and not attacking your credit card debt, it's like knowing you have cancer in your body, but knowingly let it consume you without doing anything about it. Credit card debt is absolutely cancer. Now, I'm not saying credit cards are bad. I'm not Dave Ramsey.
You have nothing!
I have a credit card now. I use a credit card, but I control it. At the end of every single month, I pay it off in full. I have no credit card debt beyond that 1 month timeline. But if you can't do that, well, then maybe it is time to break out the scissors on the credit cards, at least until you can get things under control. Now, as I'm getting my financial life back on track, the fourth thing I would do is make more money. And I know that is much easier said than done. And that's such a duh, Andy kind of a thing. Well, of course, make more money, Andy, you big dummy. But here's the reality. After budgeting and cutting back on expenses, paying off debt was going to take longer than I wanted to when I was originally first starting on this journey. And I hadn't even started investing yet. So one of the biggest things you can do is just make more money, maybe on the side, to then put towards all the stuff you're trying to do. Because you can only cut back so much and have so much room left on your paychecks going towards all your expenses and various things. If you really want to expand that and start investing more or paying off your debt more aggressively, you just need to make more money. And the way I did it and the way I would start making more money again if I was doing this all over again would just be by doing side hustles. Before I was a millionaire, before I was making the money I'm making today, before I had this YouTube channel or anything, I was working my normal job and then coming home and then driving for Uber and Lyft and then finding stuff at thrift stores or online to then sell and flip on Craigslist or eBay. I enjoyed photography as a hobby, so I started picking up photography gigs on the side. I was just doing whatever I could to make more money. And there's a million different ways you can do it. It doesn't have to be side hustles. It could be making more money through getting a new job or working towards getting a promotion. Again, it could be starting side hustles, or it could be starting a business, which is the number one way I got out of my own situation. But the bottom line here is that making more income can dig you out of your financial grave like nothing else if you can be disciplined while you earn it. And I should also state that it doesn't always have to be trading your time for money directly. I mean, I would encourage side hustles in various things because they were very effective for me. But obviously, if you're watching my channel, you're into crypto and crypto passive income and various things like that. You can do those while you do side hustles and other things. The goal here is to make more money so you can put that money to work for you and to multiply your ability to make more money. Next up, number 5, this is the fun part. And it's what I just alluded to a little bit, which is I would start making my money work for me instead of it just being me working for my money. Just trading your time for money is a little bit of a trap. There's nothing wrong with it, and we all do it. I even still do it from time to time. But the moment you can disconnect your money-making ability from the time invested is when things really start to take off. So once I had my budget squared away and I started making real progress on the debt and I started making more money on the side, I started taking investing seriously. I was, of course, doing the boring stuff, which I still think is great, which is things like opening up a Roth IRA and investing in index funds like VOO, which is an S&P 500 index fund. As much as I love crypto and I love all these things, I think all that normal, traditional, boring stuff still has a place in most people's financial lives. But of course, what I did or what I would do does not relate to you. You do whatever you think is best for you and your money, but there's probably a reason why so many financial experts out there preach that stuff. But don't worry, I wouldn't stop there. I would also make some other moves with my money. Like step number 6 on this list, which is I would make asymmetric bets. In the crypto bear market before this most recent one, I bought lots of Bitcoin below $10,000. I invested in a bunch of other crypto projects as well, and I focused on building passive income. And those all helped immensely by accelerating my journey towards millionaire status. And the beauty of that stuff is it's rinse and repeat. This most recent crypto bear market we've been through, I did the same thing. I've been buying Bitcoin. I've been mining Bitcoin. I've been putting money into a bunch of different crypto projects that I think have potential in the next bull run, which is hopefully coming soon. And I've been building my passive income streams up like crazy because I know whatever they're paying me now can potentially increase by 10x or more in the future. And if you don't know what an asymmetric bet is, it's basically a bet, a gamble, maybe an investment you make, where the risk and the payoff are disconnected. They're not one for one. So a great example of this might be if you have a $10,000 portfolio, for example, $9,000 or $8,000 of that portfolio would go into something that you think, you personally, based on your own research and conviction and beliefs, 80 to 90% of that would go into something you believe is quite safe. And then 1 or 2% of that would go into something that you think could do a 10x. A 50x, a 100x or more. And the beauty here is that if it does do that, well, then you make a lot of money and your wealth builds exponentially. But if it fails completely, you only lose 1 or 2% of all of your wealth. This is why asymmetric bets are so interesting and so powerful, and why I've personally been such a big believer in them for my own financial journey. But also, if I were doing this all over again, I would focus on making asymmetric bets on myself. I would invest in me. I would invest in my own business or my own side hustles or my own whatever. A good example of this is how I started my YouTube channel, which you're watching right now. Hello. And I focused on building an audience. But an earlier example of that is when I was still working my 9-to-5 job and I started investing in myself and in my business by building a business on the side. If it failed, I still had my job. I still had my salary. There's no harm, no foul. I lost some hours and maybe had a good story out of it. But if it took off, which it did, I could double or triple my money, which I did. Very little downside with tons of upside. But whatever you invest in, you just need to make sure it compounds. Index funds compound over the long term and make you money. Crypto can earn you more money that compounds itself. Building your own business that scales can compound your income beyond your working hours. Of course, there's way more to all of this than just the simplified steps I just told you. But really, if I had to start from scratch over again and do this whole financial journey thing again, these are really some of the foundational steps I would take that I think would get me out of debt, get me out of living paycheck to paycheck, and start my journey towards financial freedom, which I don't know about you, that's the goal for me. I want work to be optional. I don't want anybody to be able to tell me what to do. I want to have enough money that I can just sit on my butt all day and read books or watch movies if I chose to. But regardless of what your actual goals are for financial freedom, I really believe that if I can do all this stuff, if I have done all this stuff, that you can too. I'm really not special though. I'm just an ordinary guy who did these steps, got out of a bad situation, and worked really hard to get into a better one. And I would love it if you did the same. And if you do want to earn some extra money on the side through side hustles, well then check out this playlist of a bunch of videos where I cover a bunch of different side hustles that might work great for you. Goodbye.